Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to another episode of No Huddle Rodeo here on the US Cowboy YouTube channel. And today we are breaking down some bubble implications at the Caldwell Night Rodeo, a new rodeo to end the regular season, and checking in on some familiar faces who are having terrific years and extending their leads in the world standings or making up ground in the world standings. Those guys are Will Lummus and Kai Hamilton. But first, we go back to the Caldwell Night Rodeo, where again, bubble implications everywhere in Caldwell, starting in the steer wrestling. Holden Meyers goes from number 20 to number 13 by winning the steer wrestling in Caldwell. This is a guy never been to the NFR. He looked like, not a lock, but looked like he had a really, really good opportunity because he finished second in Houston, won a boatload of money there. So he spent most of the season in the top 15. He slipped all the way down to number 20 as recently as entering this past weekend, but runs a 4.0 and 4.1 in Caldwell, win him that rodeo at 8.1 seconds on 2. That's his first PRCA playoff series win of the year. He wins the highest paying rodeo of the weekend. He is now number 13 in the world, up 7 spots, about $2,000 ahead of number 15, Stetson Jorgensen. So Holden Meyers in one weekend back into NFR safety, the 26-year-old again looking for his first appearance in Las Vegas. Team roping, very, very similar deal. Dawson Graham and Dillon Graham win it with matching 4.4 second runs in round 1 and round 2. They are 1/10 better than Driggers and Aguirre to get the job done. They won $9,775. They also, round 1 of the Horse Heaven Roundup in Kennewick and the timed events is already wrapped up. They also took second in Kennewick to add another $2,600 to their season total. And so, with all of that being said, Dawson Graham on the head side goes from number 21 to number 18 in the world with the victory at the Caldwell Night Rodeo. On the heel side, even closer for Dillon Graham. He goes from number 18 to number 16. What's interesting, though, is although Dawson Graham is number 18 and Dillon Graham is number 16, Dawson is actually closer to an NFR spot. He's about $600 outside of the number 15 spot on the head side. So that goes to show you how close that is, whereas Dillon is about $1,000 behind on the heel side. And on the heel side, number 12 and number 16 are separated by less than $3,000 right now. So incredibly, incredibly close for that final NFR spot. That is number 12, Caden Profili, number 13, Denton Dunning, number 14, Sid Sporer, number 15, Hunter Cook, and then number 16, Dillon Graham, just to run through it on the heel side. Again, Dillon Graham wins that same 9,775 over the weekend in Caldwell that his brother Dawson does, of course. Dillon goes from number 18 to number 16 in the PRCA world standings on the heel side. Again, Dawson from number 21 to number 18. The final guy, Trevor Reiste, from number 24 to number 17. And he's a good example of just what can happen over the course of the summer in professional rodeo, because it's going to be a wild ride and there's going to be ups and downs, especially if you're an NFR bubble guy. It's never smooth sailing. We're winning a bunch of money every weekend. Some weekends are great, some are terrible, some are somewhere in between. And Trevor Reiste wins Caldwell, 92.5 points to win about $12,500. That 92.5 on Powder River's Peanut, the highest marked ride of his career. That is a career that is already featured 2 NFRs. On the weekend, though, he wasn't just terrific there in Caldwell. He was terrific all weekend. He goes 4 for 4. He places third or better at all 4 rodeos he enters, and he wins $23,576 for the entire weekend. That's interesting, and that's noteworthy that he went 4 for 4 and raked in that much money, because between July 21st and August 13th. He had bucked off 6 in a row. So he responds to a buck-off streak of 6 in a row by riding 4 in a row, including one of those for 92.5 to win Caldwell, which again made up about $12,500 of the $23,500 that he won over the weekend. So basically half of the winners in Caldwell ended up having NFR implications. And then just to run through the other winners from this weekend's highest paying rodeo, Mason Yancey in the bareback riding, 171.5 on 2. Ross Griffin wins the saddle bronc riding with 173.5 on 2. Hayden Ford and Shad Mayfield, 17.6 on 2 in the tie-down roping. Shad within $18,000 of Riley Webb. And then Caitlin Scott in the barrel racing, 33.83 on 2. That is 1/100th better than Trisha Aldrich's 33.84 on 2. Now, let's take a look closer at just some specific athletes, starting with Will Lummus, the new number 1 in the steer wrestling. Tucker Allen had won Rodeo Houston all the way back at the end of March, held on to the number 1 spot until last week. So this weekend was Will Lummus's first weekend at number 1 in the world. And what does he do? He's 3-6 in Gooding for second there, 3-8 for second at the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo in Burley, Idaho. So he wins about $7,000. And then, like the Graham brothers, a 3.8 second run at the Horse Heaven Roundup in Kennewick to add another $3,000 to his total. So you tie all that up and you put it together for Will Lummus, $148,359 for the season right now for the number 1 man in the world in the steer wrestling. That is two things of note in that. It's about 12,000 ahead of Tucker Allen, so a little breathing room for Will Lummus as the world number 1 there. But also, again, I'll say the number one more time. 148,359 is what he has right now. Last year, he entered number 4 in the world. He had 148,837. So he's only about $500 what he had for the entire regular season last year, with 40 days still remaining in the regular season. And not only that, that total last year was good enough to have him enter in the top 5 in the world. He goes from number 4 to number 2 in the world standings at the NFR last year, a 3rd reserve world title in 4 years. What is interesting is Will Lummus, we know he has been around the top 5 every single year. He has entered the last 4 NFRs in the top 5 in the world standings and has finished second in the world in 3 of those 4 years since 2021. All of that being said, Will Lummus has never entered the NFR number 1. And so that may be what it takes to finally get him over the edge to win that first gold buckle. And lastly, we've highlighted some of the times, 3 times of 3.8 or faster for Will Lummus over just the last week or so. On the month of August, 9 runs of 4.2 seconds or faster. That's compared to 8 in July. So in the first 18 days of August or first 20 days of August, already more than he had all of July, which was 8, but he had 0 in May and June. So talk about peaking at the right time. He's better in August than he was in July. He was better in July than he was in May and June. We'll see if he's better in September than he was in August. But this is a guy, number 1 in the world, who leads the PRCA in average time right now and leads by about 0.7 of a second. He is at 5.53. No one else is even below 6. So Will Lummus about 5.5 seconds per run. Again, no other Bulldogger in the PRCA even averaging sub 6 seconds right now. So that is Will Lummus. That's a guy who's yet to break through for his first world title, a guy who did break through for his first world title the last time we saw him healthy for a full season. That was Kai Hamilton in 2023. He, of course, had the crazy NFR to do it, but Kai Hamilton has obviously had other terrific seasons outside of his 2023 season, but he is doing it again. And he did it again over the weekend. He won Gooding with 87.5 points on an unridden bull from Caldwell Rodeo. 4 of his last 5 qualified rides have been 86 points or better. He also took second at the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo over the weekend. So a $12,000 weekend alone for Kai Hamilton for a 2-for-3 performance, including $7,000 for winning Gooding. But it gets even better than that for Kai Hamilton, because at the Cowtown Extreme Bulls in New Jersey, which was last Monday and Tuesday, he went 2 for 2. He was 174 on 2 there and took second in the average, which paid him $12,500. So close to a $25,000 week for Kai Hamilton, who is number 4 in the world, which is obviously very good if he's top 5 in the world standings behind Wacy Shala, Stetson Wright, Tristan Hutchings. But what makes that even better is his stats are slightly better than a guy who is number 4 in the world, because he's riding 57.5% of his bulls. That ranks second in the PRCA. His average score, 85.9 points. Also top 5 in the PRCA. And we'll put it up right here for you. But let's compare him first to his good buddy, number 2, Stetson Wright. And I'm going to have a little spoiler for you as you look at these stats here. Little spoiler for you. Stetson Wright, despite being number 2 in the world, is statistically by far the best bull rider in the PRCA this year. But as you can see, Kai Hamilton, pretty dang close in riding percentage. 60.8 to 57.5. So only about 3% behind in the riding percentage. Average score, 85.9 to 86.8. So only about 1 point better in average score. And then you can see money-wise, over $100,000 better than Hamilton. Stetson is 8 better in 85-plus point rides. So Kai Hamilton, despite being number 4, keeping pace with the number 2 bull rider and the guy who I would still say is the favorite to win the world title in Stetson Wright. And then let's show you compared to Wacy Shala. This is the number 1 man in the world compared to Kai Hamilton. But if we did blind resumes here, you would see that Kai Hamilton statistically actually better than Wacy Shala this year, riding almost 10% more bulls. He's about a half a point better in average score, 85.9 to 85.3. Wacy with a couple more 85-plus point rides, but he's also gotten on 20 more bulls than Kai has this year. So Kai could easily make that up in the next 20 bulls. And then you see leads him by about $114,000. But if you didn't have the money totals on there for Stetson Wright, Kai Hamilton, Wacy Shala, you would rank them Stetson 1, Kai 2, Wacy 3. Instead, how it shakes out in the standings is Wacy 1, Stetson 2, and then really Tristan Hutchings 3, and Kai Hamilton 4. But the point of all of that is the fact that Kai Hamilton's season far from finished, and he's way back there, but with ground money in the bull riding at the NFR, with the fact that we have already seen Kai Hamilton win an NFR average title, I mean, Stetson's probably going to ride more than half of his bulls. But let's say he doesn't. What if he doesn't? And what if Kai Hamilton rides 7 or 8 bulls? Same thing for Wacy Shala. So this world title race, and then you throw in Tristan Hutchings. Again, not to leave him out. We're just not talking about him today, but don't leave out Tristan Hutchings either. And this bull riding world title, I would have called it over between Stetson and Wacy about a month ago. I think Kai Hamilton and also Tristan Hutchings have shown enough that they are very much in this world title race. And again, these stats for Kai, 100% back that up. Lastly, another new rodeo, another new showdown to close the pro rodeo season. In just the last 3 years, we've added the Governor's Cup. We've added the Rough Rider Cup. Both of those with huge end of season implications. You can easily win $15,000, $20,000 at both of those rodeos while introducing another one. The Duel at the Dunes, held at Rodeo Dunes Golf Course, which is very, very close to the Survey Ranch out there in Colorado. And Rodeo Dunes opens September 1st, and that's going to be a really This is going to be a really cool event for a multitude of reasons, but the first being, it is going to take place on the golf course. And this is a beautiful golf course that is part of this trend of just cutting out these amazing golf holes out of these prairies and dunes in places like Nebraska and Colorado and Montana. If you know anything about that, you know that golf course architecture is really trending in that direction of it's not sterile country clubs anymore. There's a ton of these new clubs emerging that really do an unbelievable job using the land. They're also in a pasture within this golf course going to set up a rodeo arena. They're going to invite the top 20 in each roughstock event. There's going to be up to $20,000 on the line in each event. And it is going to take place on September 30th. So if you thought, okay, we could rest easy after the Governor's Cup, if you are a roughstock cowboy and you think you are in on September 28th, well, you still got two more to ride. I was going to say one more. You still got two more to ride on September 30th because it is a classic two-header in every roughstock event. Big payout, top 20 there. So if you're a guy who thinks you're safe on the bubble, you're not safe yet. You got to go to Colorado and ride one more from Sioux Falls or ride two more. And if you're a guy who maybe didn't get the Governor's Cup invite or didn't take advantage of the opportunity at the Governor's Cup when you entered on the bubble, or you got bumped out at the Governor's Cup, well, now you can go to Stoneham, Colorado. You can go to Rodeo Dunes Golf Course and you can duel it out with the 20 best in the world. And you know, whatever happens here, that's what's going to be audited. And that's how things are going to shake out. So it is no longer, if you are a roughstock cowboy, Governor's Cup, good to go toward the finals. You now have to make one more stop at the Survey Ranch or nearby the Survey Ranch on a golf course and compete for $20,000 and a chance to potentially make or break the NFR, bolster your world title contention. Again, think of what can happen from the Rough Rider Cup, the Governor's Cup, and now Duel at the Dunes in the Roughstock events. I mean, there's someone who could win $50,000, $60,000 in the last 10 days of the regular season. And if you think you have heard this before, I would imagine the idea was inspired by the Gold Buckle Knockout in 2020 at the Survey Ranch. I was there. It was awesome. It was a really, really cool event, a really, really intimate event, and just all of the best bareback and saddle bronc riders in the world. And I don't want to say that was thrown together because it was a very, very well done event. It was an awesome event, but that was a product of COVID and having to make adjustments based on that. And so to take the time to really plan this out and really have the idea for this and have it be PRCA sanctioned here on August 19th, that's going to be a really cool event to watch. The Duel at the Dunes to close the regular season and another high stakes, high drama event in professional rodeo. So we look forward to that down the stretch. That is our show today. That is our episode of No Huddle Rodeo. Remember our full schedule, PRCA Tuesdays and Wednesdays with No Huddle Rodeo and the Morning Kick Tuesday, No Huddle Rodeo Wednesday. PBR teams all summer long, all the way through the finals at the end of October. Recaps on Monday of every event. Previews on Thursday of the coming events. So all things Western sports, all things PBR and PRCA, we have got you covered Monday through Thursday here on the US Cowboy YouTube. And with that being said, we obviously encourage you to like, to subscribe, to comment, to tell a friend, to give us your prediction, to give us your thoughts on the show, because it all helps us as we continue to get this thing off the ground. We appreciate you watching today. We will see you tomorrow previewing Gambler Days in PBR. This is No Huddle Rodeo on US Cowboy.